This is Parshat Tetzaveh. Last week we dealt with the Kalim, the vessels, and the Mishkan. This week we're going to be dealing with the Bigdei Kahuna, the clothes of the Kohanim. This Dvar Torah is based on Rav Bernstein's shiur, found on journeysintorah.com under Tetzaveh 2014. Okay, so we're focusing on the third Aliyah, chapter 28, verse 31. I'll just read it in English, just for simplicity's sake. So here we're talking about the Me'il, yeah? You shall make the robe of the ephod entirely of turquoise wool, right? Turquoise wool, techelet. We'll skip a verse. You shall make on its hem pomegranates of turquoise, purple, and scarlet wool, on its hem all around, and gold bells between them all around. A gold bell and a pomegranate on the hem of the robe all around. It must be on Aaron in order to minister. Its sound shall be heard when he enters the sanctuary before Hashem and when he leaves, so that he not die. Okay, very interesting. So our first question is, what does the meal represent here? Because there is a chazal that says that each one of the Bigdei Kahuna was mechaper. It atoned for a certain sin. So which sin did the me'il atone for? The answer to that is lashon hara, evil speech. Now, just to clarify, when we say lashon hara, we're actually not talking about people who spread lies about other people, lies that are obviously negative. And the reason why we know that is because that's actually a separate sin. Motzi Shemra is the sin of spreading the negative lies about other people. Lashon hara is actually telling the truth about other people, but truth, that's negative. So whatever the negative slander is, let's say you've had a business relationship with somebody and they were very dishonest. And now you start spreading the word. Yeah, he's such a dishonest person. Now there's actually a time where you can't speak about that. If, say, for example, you have a friend who's potentially going into a business relationship with this individual, then you might want to speak. But again, those are separate halachas. We're not dealing with that. We just know that lashon hara is speaking negatively about someone else, about things that are true, not lies. Okay, so our question is, how does the me'il atone for lashon hara? So we learn that it's because the sounds of the bells are what atone for lashon hara. Now the Keres Yitzchak, quoted by Rav Bernstein, again asks, how is this? How does that work? So we learn that each bell was inside a pomegranate, right? And that's what helps it. Now, what is so significant about pomegranates that they're at the bottom of the meal? So that's because, in Rav Bernstein's word, a pomegranate represents everything that is right about the Jewish people. Now we see in Brachot, Masechet Brachot, on Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, that's 57a, towards the middle of the page, it says, so the Gemara quotes a pasuk in Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, Kefelach harimon rakatech. Now the Gemara asks, my rakatech, what does this word mean? What is rakatech? And the Gemara answers, Afilu rekanin shevach melei mitzvot karimon. Right? Even the empty ones of you are filled with mitzvahs like a pomegranate has seeds. Now, how can that be? That's a very fair question. Now, it's because there's always redeeming features for everybody. Right? And the Keres Yitzchak says that the ringing of the bell is the sound a person makes. Now, when you're speaking about somebody else, what are the things you're focusing on, right? Are you focusing on his negative traits or on his positive traits? And the lesson of the Me'il is to say that when you do choose to make a sound, then make the sounds of pomegranates. Talk about the other person's redeeming features, about his positive features. And that's how you can be mechaper for lashon hara, right? You should find the good and talk about that. Now, perhaps to add a further point, as Rav Bernstein loves to do, we really need to get to the bottom of the matter. Because again, the Me'il, it doesn't only have pomegranates and bells at the bottom, at the hem, but actually it's filled with techelet, right? This turquoise wool that we spoke about. Now, what does this symbolize? So we've actually seen techelet is also in the mitzvah of tzitzit. One of the strings needs to be colored of techelet, and the reason for that is because, again, Chazal says, because when you look at the techelet, you'll think of the sea. When you think of the sea, you'll think of the sky. When you think of the sky, you'll think of the kisei hakavod, the throne of glory, God's throne, right? And that represents the highest aspirations of a person's life. Right? And Rabbi Yeshua Leib Diskin, by the way, that is the view of the Netziv, but Rabbi Yeshua Leib Diskin says the following: that a person who wants to live a spiritual life, he needs to see the good in other people. Now, where does he get that from? Why is that so? because everyone is influenced by their surroundings. Now, if you live in a positive environment, then you'll grow. If you live in a negative environment, then chances are that it'll help you deteriorate and get worse. Now, the question of whether or not you live in a positive environment or a negative environment really depends on how you see things. Because if you only see the negative in people, then you're going to live in a negative environment, and that'll help you do worse. But if you're the kind of person who sees the positive in people, then you live in a positive environment, and that'll help you grow. And really, that's a matter of your own choice, what you choose to see. And the way we look at things can often really tell us about ourselves. And that if a person kind of decides to go through a downward spiral and he just doesn't want to improve, doesn't want to do better, he's just throwing it out the door, then that's the kind of person who generally sees the negative in other people. Because now that he's doing bad, why should he see the good in other people? And therefore he sees the negative in others, and that really just helps him continue to spiral downwards. And we see that the way we look at things is in the hem of the me'il, right? This combination of tchelet and the pomegranates with the bells. And what's interesting is that the pomegranate and the bells are at the hem of the me'il. Now the point of the hem is that the clothing doesn't unravel. So you see that this idea of seeing the positive in other people helps keep us together. And because we've learned through this that lashon hara is not only undoing our relationship with others, it's really also undoing the relationship with ourselves. Because the fact that we choose to see the positive in other people, that is going to be determinative, and will help us grow. But if we see the negative in other people, which is a choice we make, then that's going to help us unravel. Shabbat Shalom.